Morning, everybody. Hope you had a good weekend. It's Mike Kesselneck, and it's our Monday morning call. As always, this is a great time to ask questions, make comments, things going well, things going poorly. Anything that you'd want to share, I am certain everybody else on the call would appreciate and gain from. And also, I'd love to have somebody to bounce things off of today as we go through our once we get to our topic. I got a few things covered before then. So if you've got questions or if you're willing to volunteer to be my sounding board this morning, just raise your hand and let Missy know. And about 5 minutes from now, we'll open up your line. So first thing I want to cover is that to announce that we have another training June 15th in Minneapolis. So it's right at the airport. So it's like 5 minutes from the airport to the hotel where we'll actually be doing the training. We go through the whole system from front to back, show you how everything's connected. I think the guys that left last time really had a better clue on exactly how everything was put together, and it really helped them leapfrog forward to utilizing the system in a much more efficient and I think effective way. So, Missy, when do those go out?
We sent one out actually on Friday. We have posted it out on the first screen that they arrive in at the website as well as soon as you log in. But if you have any questions or can't find it, just go ahead and shoot us an email to our support email, and we'll certainly get that registration form out to you.
Super. And then I'll go to the next thing here. Do we have anybody raise their hands that would volunteer to be my sounding board, Missy, yet?
No, but I do have a couple of questions that have come in.
Okay.
So I don't know if you want to handle those now or...
I'll take those in a second.
Okay.
The next thing I want to talk about is on the site in the section for pay per person group presentations in the Take Your Brain for a Jog session, which is our event. We posted a couple additional videos on there, and it's the what's the point. So if I can get to here, can you see my arrow, Missy?
Yep, sure can.
Okay. So you see what's the point video part 1 and what's the point video part 2. A lot of guys have been sending me their videos of their events. And guys, if you're doing an event, give Tricia a call, and we'll send you out a movie camera to get that so you can film that event and get it to me. So I've been viewing a couple of events here in the past few weeks, and what I've noticed is that they're doing a fantastic job of doing the event, but they're doing a fantastic job of just doing it on the surface. And what I mean by that is this, is that have you ever watched a commercial that was extremely funny, and then afterwards somebody asked you, what were they advertising, and you couldn't even figure out what they were advertising? The commercial was funny, and it was memorable, and it was hilarious, and you tell all of your friends about it, but you can't remember even what the product was that they were advertising. Has that ever happened to you? Well, and that's what was happening with these guys, and that the crowd was immediately involved. They were laughing. They were shouting things out, but they didn't really get the point of the whole event. For example, if I pulled any of the crowd out at the flipping the coin portion of the event, I said, now what was this about? What was this section about? They'd say, well, it's about, when you flip your coin, it can come up heads or tails several times in a row. So guys, is that the point of the flipping the coin? So let me see some answers to that. Is that the point of the flipping the coin? No. Right, Mickey? No, Steve, exactly right. So, because if all the way through the presentation, for example, with the dating game, is the point there that we are getting Sally a better date? Is that the point of that? No. The point is that with a strategy, you can go from a 1% chance to a 70% chance. If you avoid risk, you up your chances astronomically again. So we have to understand the point of what we're talking about. They need to leave there saying, wow, if I don't understand probability, I could be in real trouble. Wow, if I don't understand how randomness works, I could be in real trouble. Wow, I know that my advisors, my bankers and my brokers are not experts on probability and are not experts on randomness. They need to leave there thinking that. They need to leave there thinking, whoa, if I don't check out Social Security planning, I'm walking away from not tens of dollars, not hundreds of dollars, but thousands of dollars of free money. I'd be crazy not to get some Social Security planning done. They need to be walking away with that. With the sale, they need to be walking away thinking, whoa, you mean I can put my current investments through this software? I can put my current investments through this software, and I can decrease the risk so that I don't have to worry about running out of money, but yet bump up my return by upwards of 25%, I need to do that. If they're not leaving thinking those things, if all they're doing is saying, wow, this was a great event, this was really interesting, this was really fun, they'll make appointments with you. But guess what's going to happen to those appointments when they go home? Why did we make an appointment with him again? I mean, it was fun, yeah. He was nice, yeah. But I don't remember why we made an appointment. Let's just cancel. We don't want to do that. But when they go home and they've made an appointment because they're like, whoa, I need to get my current investments run through that sale. I need to get some Social Security planning done. When they go home and wonder, why did we make the appointment, they're going to say, well, because I want to figure out how to get more money from Social Security. I need to figure out how to get more income from my investments without further risk. So what I've done in this part one, take your point to the what's the point of the video, and part two, what's the point video. I've gone through slide by slide telling you what is the point that if I pull that attendee out into the hallway and said, what was the point of that slide, this is the point I'd want them to tell you, okay? So this is a sentence. Before you do your next video or your next event, please look at these so you get a better idea of what we're doing there. You do not want them to go through and say, wow, that was really entertaining, but I don't know what it was all about. Because you're going to make appointments, but they're not going to stick. The guys that, and most of our guys have had great luck with this, but I just noticed that a couple of the guys that have done very good presentations but didn't let the attendees know the point, they got a ton of appointments and they had cancellations. So that's why they got cancellations, that people didn't know why they made appointments. So please, all the other guys that I've talked to, they've had great success, and we were having some unbelievable success this past month with events and not only appointments, but huge amounts of money being written from those events. So, and those are guys that during their event, the clients knew why they were meeting them. They came in and they were prepared to do what it took to get their assets through the sales software and to find out how to do Social Security software planning. So, okay, Missy. With that said, where were the? Where's that section located? It's right here.
Yep, it's underneath. Person. Yep, the pay per person, and then take your brain for a jog. And again, this would only be available to those that have the Take Your Brain for a Jog presentation package.
Yep.
Is there? We talk about evaluating people's Social Security, and we talk about analyzing to see if they can get more. Steve asks he'd like some direction on how to do this. So, what would you suggest for him?
Okay, you want me to take that one?
Yeah, would you, Jeff?
Yeah. If what you're looking for, Steve, is information on the strategies that are available, there are a lot of places that I can point you to if you're looking for software that will analyze Social Security options. There's a number of things that are out there. Horse's Mouth has a software program that does that really well. There's a company called Social Security Timing that has software that does that, I think, fairly well. Social Security Solutions is another company that does that fairly well. AARP has a calculator out on their website that does that fairly well. So AARP, if you Google AARP, you'll find their Social Security Benefits Calculator. If you Google Social Security Solutions, you'll find their software package. Social Security Timing, you'll find their software package, and Horse's Mouth has a software package as well. If you're wondering how do I use those and how do I kind of analyze them and present the software, give me a call and I'll be happy to help you when you have a case.
And I'm going to turn over the next question to you too, Jeff. We have a question that says, what if the client is recently updated with his lawyer and has a current POA and his beneficiary is set up per stirpes and he has a broker? Can you address the fact that is any POA correct?
Well, no POA is, there's a very high likelihood that the POA that they have isn't going to work in every situation, and that's because most powers of attorney are boilerplate. And so what happens when you go to use a power of attorney at a bank or a brokerage, which is where you're probably going to be taking them someplace like that, a couple of things happen. The first thing is the brokerage looks at it and wonders, 99% of the time, people aren't going to these places to put money into those accounts. They're going there to take money out. So these financial institutions are giving money to people who aren't the account holders, so they have a lot of liability there. And the problem with the power of attorney is they're easily changed. And there's no real record of them. You don't have to file your power of attorney with the county clerk or with the state or anything, so the bank can't just look it up and say, well, is this old or is this really valid? They could make the presenter of the power of attorney go back to court and validate it and get a letter from the court, but before they do that, they'll try and honor it, and the way that they've done that to protect themselves is to say, well, if it's old, if it's more than 2 years old, we will turn him back to the court. Because if we turn him back to the court,
this one has just been redone.
Yeah. The other problem is most institutions will say it has to have language specific to the institution. So in other words, if I went to Wells Fargo with a power of attorney and said I want to take money out of that Wells Fargo account, they're going to look at it and say, we don't see in here anything that says that this Wells Fargo account is covered by this power of attorney. I don't see the words Wells Fargo, and I don't see this account with the account number on it. It either needs to be on one of our powers of attorney, or you're going to have to go back to court and tell them that we need a letter that we need to honor this, because without that language, we're not going to honor it.
And every power, guys, here's why it's impossible for powers of attorney to be correct. It's impossible for powers of attorney to be correct because just one phrase in there, which is there's a phrase that says that the agent can give money to themselves, and there's a phrase in there, or you can choose to say the agent cannot gift money to themselves. So think about this for a second, guys. Is there a situation where you would not want your agent to be gifting money to themselves? What if they appointed the oldest son to be the agent, and that agent started giving money to themselves and borrowing money out of the accounts to the detriment of the other kids? Would that be a good thing? No. On the other hand, let's say that the parent was going into the long-term care facility and they wanted to start gifting that money out to protect it from all being gobbled up by would they want that gifted? And you can't do both. You can't say, hey, the agent can gift it to themselves, and no, the agent can't gift it to themselves. So the fact is it's impossible for a power of attorney to be perfect. It's impossible for a power of attorney to be perfect. So there are situations where they would not be able to get their money when they needed it most. So our point is what? So let me see some answers to this. So what's our point then? If a power, first of all, that proves that we could say the power of attorney needs to be looked at. So what is the point there? Well, then how can we even say it? What do we do then? What would be our solution to that, guys? You need to know this. Let me see some answers. If all power of attorney have situations where you would not be able you would not be able to get money when you need it most, then what's the solution to that? Guys, you are the solution to that. You're the one that's there to help them update things. You're the one that's up there to talk about family situations. You're the one that's the quarterback is they need to get the money. You're the one that's the power of their power of attorney, because you're the quarterback.
And chances are, guys, they're not, when they're getting this done, they're not meeting with their attorney every year to discuss changes in their life situation and changes in their finances. So it really needs to be looked at and at least reviewed, not changed, but at least reviewed by somebody who they meet with every year. And hopefully that's you.
And then he says that their current beneficiaries are set up per stirpes. Well then, first of all, if that's the case, we have 21 different issues, guys. So if one of those 21 different issues, in fact, Jeff, how often does somebody use all 21 issues in a proposal?
Rarely, if ever.
And the second thing is, congratulations for seeing that those beneficiaries per stirpes, because Jeff, how many of your case analysis that you've done with people have people been able to see the actual writing of the beneficiaries?
None. In fact, that's a common question that I get, which is if I don't actually have copies of the beneficiary paperwork, how do I know what their beneficiaries are? So what I'm guessing is they have some sort of insurance contracts that you've been able to look at because they had them. But I'll tell you from my own experience and you know, reviewing all of these case analysis over the years, I don't know that I've even come across it being done correctly even one time. I've come across it where guys have met with people that had some of the accounts done right, but not all. So in other words, they might have their life insurance and their annuity right, but their IRA is wrong.
Right. And if it isn't, then guess what? Now you're down from 21 issues. Now how many issues do you have? 20.
20.
Yeah, so whoop-de-doo. And I don't know what the last thing he says, and he has a broker. What has a broker have to do with anything? Because all of our clients have what? Guys, our best competition, our best clients are what? Our competition's best clients. So all of my best clients came to me from other advisors. I took clients away from sons that were their parents' brokers using this system. Okay? So don't worry about one thing not working. That's why we have 21 different things. Any other questions on that before we go forward?
Nope, that's all that's come in.
Super. So what's our pointer today? Guys, how would you like to sell a product that's safe for you? What do I mean by that? Means what kind of products will not get you in trouble? This just came out. The 2011 FINRA and NAIC complaints statistics came out here last month. 329 brokers were barred from the stockbrokers or brokers in securities were barred from the industry, and $68 million in fines were levied for securities violations. So every single year, what do we find out about on the security side? Are those safe things to sell? Well, if you do them correctly, right? But there's a lot of people in the securities industry not doing them correctly. But let's look at the fixed side. There were 500,000 fixed index annuity sales. Anybody want to guess how many complaints there were on 500,000 FIA sales? Let's see some guesses. How many complaints on 500,000? I wish it was zero, Eric. 50. 50. So that means 99.9% of FII buyers did not file a complaint. So if you want a safe product to sell, a fixed index annuity is a very safe product to sell. The lowest FIA complaints in years. In 2007, the average there was an average of one FIA complaint for every $109 million sold. In 2011, it was an average of one FIA complaint for every $660 million sold. So guys, this is a very low stress, low complaint, low compliant problem product for you to sell. So I thought you'd appreciate the fact that give you a little bit of confidence in what you're selling there. So today I want to talk about definition or objections and how we go through the second step of overcoming those objections. So did we get anybody that volunteered, Missy, or we got a bunch of wallflowers today?
No, I think we have wallflowers today.
Okay. So we'll just move ahead. And but guys, please, you get more out of this if somebody volunteers to be the sounding board. So what is the definition of an objection? Anything we don't want to hear. Okay, that's the definition of objection. Anything I do not want to hear. And should we be surprised by objections? See, if I'm on the football field and I'm running with the ball and somebody just smears me, just tackles me hard, what do? I get myself up, dust myself off, and go back to the huddle, right? Because what do I expect to happen to me on a football field? But if I'm just walking down the street and somebody just tackles me, do I expect that? No. So I'm going to get up and be angry about that, right? So what's my point? I don't like people who don't think like me. But when I walk through my door into my office, I know that every single client that walks in is not going to be thinking like me. They're going to have objections. They're going to say things that I don't want to hear. Should I be surprised by that, guys? No. So I'm going to instead use those situations where they say things I don't like and turn it into rapport. I'm not going to just try to get over them. And see, we've been trained as salespeople to try to get around objections, try to get around them, try to get around them, try to get around them. No, I'm going to embrace them and use them as an actual way to develop deeper rapport. Because you know who we have deep rapport with? We have deep rapport with people who think just like us about core issues, about visceral issues, about emotional issues. Okay, so you can use those objections to develop deep rapport. Now the question is, Jeff, have you ever come across an objection that was not valid?
No, they're all valid.
They're all valid. How can you possibly say they're all valid?
Well, from the client's perspective, it's an actual worry. It's something that's real, and it's true.
And if we were in their shoes, we'd ask the same exact thing if we were smart, wouldn't we?
Right.
So every single thing that they say, even if we don't like it, it's valid. And we can use that to develop deep rapport. So if you recall, our objection formula is pretty, has 6 steps, but we're only going to concentrate in the first 3. The first one is to acknowledge. Then you pair it back in the form of a question. You get on the client side and get on it again and get on yet again. And that's an extremely important part. What we're doing here in the first step is that when they say the objection, we're going to acknowledge it. So if they say, well, I think the markets are going to go back up, you say, absolutely they're going to go back up. If they say, I think this isn't very liquid, you say, you're absolutely, this is not very liquid, is it? See, the first thing we're going to do is actually acknowledge what they're saying, absolutely. And then we're going to pair it back in the form of a question. Absolutely, this isn't very liquid, is it? So we're going to get them to agree with us immediately. So we acknowledge with the say absolutely, or you're right, or you're right on target, or whatever you want to say there, and then we get them to pair it, or we pair it back in the form of a question. So we take all the fight out of them. And then we're going to get on the client side. We're going to start to argue their point of view. And for those of you that have been on the monthly calls this month, that's what we've been working on, is getting on people's side. We need to get on people's side. And what do I mean by that? I mean by argue their point of view. Not qualified. I can see how you'd feel that way. I used to feel that way myself. But then I found, no. If they say it's not liquid, you say, absolutely, this is not liquid. You cannot get your money tomorrow. You can't get it next Friday. This is not liquid. And that's crazy to put your money into something that's not liquid. I mean, what could happen there? You get on their side. Not a little bit, but a lot. This is hard for advisors to do this, but I would tell you, or Jeff, of all the things we teach at the with 5Q, is the first meeting script or the second meeting script, is that the most important thing that we do?
No, being able to get on their side, being able to think like they think is the most important thing.
And the reason it is, guys, is think about this. If you think just like them, if there is no reason for them to leave you, you'll never lose a client. You'll never lose a client because there's no reason for them to ever say, get out of my life. So the first meeting script and the second meeting script, that speeds the process up. It gives us a track to run on it. It gives us a start and a finish line, but it's getting on their side that's the most important thing. And Jeff, have we seen people who were crappy with the scripts but were phenomenal with getting on people's side succeed?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I mean, succeed a little bit or succeed a lot?
A lot.
Yeah. And we also seen people who were perfect with the scripts who couldn't master getting on people's side that struggled.
And Mike?
Yeah.
I'm just going to let you know, too, that Mickey's line is also open. So.
Oh, super. Super.
Mickey, can
so
you
Jeff,
hear us okay?
Well, I can't hear Jeff anymore. Did something happen to him?
No, I'm here.
Okay. So have we also seen people who were excellent at the scripts who couldn't or struggled with getting on people's side that struggled?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So if you're going to be good at one thing, you should be good at getting on people's side. So the way that you do that, oh, I'm sorry. Before we do that, I'm going to emphasize that here in a little bit, but I also want to say there's 4 other things that you're going to do, but we don't concentrate on them until you've mastered the first 3, which is to tell a story, then to reverse and have them tell you the same story in the outs and ins. We'll get to that as people become more proficient at these first 3 things, but right now we're just going to concentrate on these first 3 things, especially getting on people's side. So as some of you may have recalled from the coaching calls this month, I highly recommend you do a 5-minute drill. What is the 5-minute drill? It's if you're a conservative, turn on public radio. If you're a liberal, turn on talk radio. If you're neither, turn on sports radio and listen and find something that you don't agree with, in your belly, that you viscerally don't agree with, and then spend the next 5 minutes arguing that point of view, the point of view that is totally polar opposite of your point of view. Argue that point of view, not intellectually, but get to the point where you're excited, you're enthusiastic about their point of view. You are the advocate for their point of view. You are the poster child for that point of view. When you are able to do that, your income will not. Here's the thing about the 5-minute drill. Here's the thing about getting on their side. It's not an arithmetic improvement of your practice. The guys that have mastered this have seen doubling or tripling of their incomes almost instantaneously when they do this. Their whole life changes when they are able to master it. It's not something that, it's not a rheostat where you're turning it up and you get a little bit better and a little bit better and a little bit better or a little bit more profitable, a little bit more no. It's like when you get this, you go from off on switch. I mean, it's that different. It's that black and white. You go from struggling to bam, everything changes. Your whole life changes when you master getting on people's side. Because you win every argument. How can you possibly win every argument? Mickey, when you get on somebody's side, how can you lose the argument? Was Mickey there?
Mickey?
Then I'll ask Jeff. So if we're getting on their side, Jeff, how can we possibly lose the argument?
You can't lose the argument.
Because you're arguing their point of view. Now, the problem, Jeff, what do most people have a problem with this? The problem is what? Is that they're afraid that if I argue their point of view so well, what's going to happen?
They're not going to be interested in buying.
Yeah. So then, guys, this is a big problem that we all have, which is, we've talked about this before, which is if I am playing football, and the only thing I concentrate is, I got to win, I got to win, I got to win. If we don't win this, we're out of the playoffs. I got to win, got to win, got to win. What's going to happen during the first hike if all I'm thinking about is winning? What's going to happen, guys? Let me see some answers on the board here. What's going to happen? If all I think about is got to win, got to win, win, when they hike the ball, what am I probably going to do? What am I going to do, guys? Fumble, exactly. Fumble, drop it. I need to pay attention to winning, or I need to pay attention to what I'm doing right now. So when I ask somebody to get on their side, if somebody says something we don't like, and I ask you to get on their side, they're thinking, yeah, but if I get on their side that this isn't very liquid, then how am I going to come around and have them and have them understand that it is liquid? If they say they want to think about it and get on their side about wanting to think about it, how am I ever going to get them to buy from me? Guys, that's thinking about 2 steps ahead. You're going to fumble the ball. Think about the only one thing, which is when they say something that you don't like, everybody's flight is up. Everybody's communication skills are down. There's an argument of brewing. And the first thing we should be doing is not worrying about the sale. We should be worrying about not getting the business. We should be worrying about calming everybody down and making sure that they realize that I am on your side. I do see the world the same way you see it. Because that's the only person they're going to turn their money over to, is somebody who sees the world like they see it. And if you cannot see the world the way they see it, they are not going to turn over their money to you. Do you get that? If you do not see the world the way they see it, they will not turn their money over to you. But the day that you can finally start seeing the way they see the world the way they see the world, it's an on-off switch. People start throwing you money. And the way to do it is with this 5-minute drill. Argue their point of view for 5 minutes. Pick something that and if you don't listen to radio, then pick something on the editorial page that you totally disagree with, and argue it, argue it, argue it. And don't worry about turning it around, because what we're going to talk about today is how you can actually turn that around. But the first thing you got to do before you turn it around is be able to get on their side so they know that, hey, this person gets me, this person views the world the way I view the world, I can trust this person. Okay? So any questions on that? Details. Casey, what do you mean by details? It's probably answering a question that I asked earlier. But.
Yeah, I think he was saying that you missed the details if you...
Exactly. You're exactly right, Casey. Yep. So the reason we could say that all of their objections are valid is because the way they're viewing the world, they are totally valid. But what we're going to do is take them from looking at the world through a very myopic way and turning to a big picture. And the way we're going to do that is we're going to get them to the bottom line with all these different objections they may have. Okay, so what the bottom line is what we would, after we've got on their side, after they know without a shadow of a doubt that I get where they're coming from, that I'm the poster child for their belief of what they believe in, and that without a doubt I get the world and I see the world the same way they view the world. Once I get to that point, then you're right. I am going to have them turn around and see the world with a bigger picture, so they can then say, "Oh, yes, I see what you're saying. You're right. That isn't a problem." So let's go through, and so the bottom lines are those very things that eventually we're going to turn around and have them agree to. So they give us an objection. we acknowledge it, we pair it back in the form of a question, and then we say, you are absolutely right, and you argue their point of view, and then you're going to, once they are certain of that, then you're going to circle around and get them to agree on something different. So the first objection we're going to cover is, does it have high fees? Okay? Because do they want to pay high fees? No. So we're going to get acknowledge, pair it back in the form of a question, get on their side about the dangers of high fees, how high fees can torpedo a retirement, how high fees are putting money in other people's pockets, and high fees are a great way to decimate a portfolio, and high fees are, you can get on their side, get on their side, get on their side, but then eventually then we want them to agree at the what? Well, the fees here that I'm showing you are lower than the ones you're currently paying. So if I'm agreeing with them over and over and over about the danger of high fees, and fees are horrible, and fees can torpedo your investments, and fees are terrible, 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 and anybody that would pay high fees would be an idiot. They know I'm on their side, but then how hard is it going to be to turn around and say, yeah, but your fees are lower. The fees that we're offering you are lower than you're currently paying. Is that a hard thing to turn around and get them to agree with? But if you did not get on their first side, so Jeff, go ahead and say, go ahead and tell me that you're worried about the fees.
Well, I'm a little bit worried about the fees in this investment, Mike.
Yeah, but they're lower than the ones you currently have.
I don't know.
How's that going to work, guys? Until Jeff is convinced that I agree with him that fees are horrible, fees can kill a retirement, that fees are just putting money into rich bankers' pockets, that fees are terrible, 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 I can't get him to say, yeah, but you know the fees. But if I've done all those things, I say, so Jeff, I mean, fees are. That's the number one thing we have to look at, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, you know, as my mom always said, you know, there's I forget what the phrase is, but the worst of two worlds. Lesser of two evil. Thank you. I knew. So my mom said, so you know, fees are evil, but sometimes you have to take the lesser of what?
The lesser of two evils.
So if we're going to pay fees, we want to pay the highest fees or the lowest fees?
Well, we'd want to pay the lowest fees.
And so the fees that we have are significantly lower than the fees you're currently paying. So if we have to choose one or the other, which one would we want to choose?
We'd pick the lower fee, the one that you got.
Yeah, and if we're paying fees, do we want the fees that give us a lot for what we're paying for, or very little for what we're paying for?
We want things that are going to give us the biggest bang for the buck.
Yeah, when we looked at all the fees you were currently paying, where were the benefits there? Did it protect you from losing all your money?
No, they didn't.
Did it protect you from making the wrong investment choice?
No, it didn't.
Did it protect you from or did it protect you by putting you in the market when the market was low and getting you out when it was high, or did it? Were you still victim to buying high and selling low?
We were still victim to it.
So for paying fees, we want to pay the highest or the lowest?
The lowest.
And if we're paying fees, we want them to get something for it or to not get something for it?
Well, we want to get something for it.
So what do you think about what we're currently see how you do that, guys? Another thing you could come back to say, well, I was just talking about this, is you don't mind paying fees as long as you get something for them. So does that make sense? Could I overcome that objection, or have Jeff overcome that objection for himself with that kind of mentality? How about I don't want to be in something risky. So the bottom line here, after again we acknowledge, pair it back in the form of a question, get on their side, then we're going to come around after they're convinced that we're on their side and say, you want to be prepared for everything. I want to see everything in writing. Guys, have you ever seen this objection? I want to see everything in writing. What do you say for that? Going to say absolutely. I mean, you'd be foolish, Jeff, wouldn't you, to do anything in today's world, to do anything that wasn't in writing.
Yeah, I need to see it to be sure.
Yeah, and should you just look at a 50-page document and say, oh, this is too hard to read, and just go ahead and move forward with it?
No.
Because what's in that 50-page document? Why do you think they have 50 pages?
Because there's a lot of things that are probably hidden in there.
Yeah, to protect you?
No, to protect them.
Yeah, so anybody who would do anything of significant ramifications without looking at the document or without seeing it in writing would be considered what in our society?
You'd be a fool.
A fool. It'd be foolish not to look at these things. And like we said, they're usually one very succinct three-line document, or they're generally 30 pages long.
No, that's probably 30 or more pages long.
And of course, they write it in a language that's extremely easy to understand, right? Or do they write it in legalese?
No, it's legalese.
And they don't have any small print, do they?
No, it's got a lot of small print.
Yeah. So I mean, and again, it's small print because they just, paper is expensive, so they didn't want to waste any more paper with the normal print, did they?
No, they're just trying to hide things in the small print.
Yeah. And who writes that stuff? Does a consumer write it so a consumer can understand it, or do their attorneys who are experts at writing small print write that stuff?
No, their attorneys do it.
Yeah, so you should read everything in writing, and reading everything in writing, that's ridiculous. You should understand everything in writing, shouldn't you?
Yeah.
So now, guys, I'm starting to turn. First of all, does Jeff think that I'm trying to deflect him at all from the fact that he wants to see things in writing? So do you feel that at all, Jeff?
No, not at all.
Or am I the poster child? Am I saying you are absolutely right to want this and be a fool for not wanting it?
No, you're saying, yeah, you need to look at it in writing.
Yeah. But now I'm starting to turn it and say, is it written by a consumer? Is it written by an attorney? Should you just read it, or you better what? You better understand it. So when you read that stuff, so you better have somebody who what? When you read a sentence and it understands it. Yeah, because if you read a sentence and you don't get it, does that mean it's bad?
No, not necessarily.
Not necessarily. It could be bad. It could be what?
Could be all right. Could be fine.
And the only way you're going to know that is if you what?
If you're able to ask somebody.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's the same thing with a doctor. When you look at an x-ray, do you know what's good or bad? When you look at blood tests, do you know what's good or bad?
No, you don't.
Without that expert there to explain what that means, how good is the information? How good is it that it's in writing?
It's worthless.
Yeah. So when you get that stuff in writing, the most important thing is you understand it. And the best way to understand it is what?
Have somebody alongside you who's an expert in that.
Yeah, because if the doctor just sent you home with all of the test results and said, there you go, tell me what you want to do, would you know what questions to ask? Would you know what to do with that information at all?
No, you wouldn't.
No. So getting this stuff in writing is important or not important?
It's important.
But it's more important that you what?
That you understand it.
Yeah. So what would you say about us getting the information in writing, and then what do you think you and I should do?
Sit down and go over it.
So that you kind of understand it, or you really understand it?
No, so that we really understand it.
That you have good questions to ask and they get answered, or it's so confusing you don't even know what to ask?
No, you want to make sure you understand it so you can ask good questions.
Yeah, and get the answers right then or sometime in the future?
No, right then.
So let's do this. Let's get it in writing, and then we'll do what when we have it in writing and we're both sitting down here?
Well, let's go over it.
Yeah. So we can what?
So we can understand it.
Yeah. And because only after understanding can you make a what? What kind of decision?
A good decision.
Yeah. So guys, all I'm doing is what? I wanted, guys, if somebody wants to see it in writing, you should let them see it in writing. In fact, all our clients see the stuff in writing anyways. But what I found is that the stuff in writing is actually a good thing, not a bad thing, as long as you explain it, not they get confused and throw their arms up and say, I don't understand this. And if they say, I don't understand this, what are they going to do? Move forward or not move forward? Not move forward. Okay? Can I sleep on it? You ever heard that one before? And we're going to talk about the next version. What's the other version of can I sleep on it? What's the yeah, think it over. Can I think it over? Right, Casey? So, can I sleep on it? So the first thing you want to do is probe, and you want to back it out to a third party, and I'll explain that here in a second. We always want to use a third party. Anytime their finances are on the line, we want to use a third party. So what do I mean by that? I'm not going to say, so Jeff, why do you want to think about it?
I just want to think about it. I just need some time to digest it.
How does it feel when I say, why do you want to think about it?
Kind of confrontational.
What if it says, yeah, Jeff, I mean, and why do people need to think about these things, sleep on these things? Now, how does it sound?
Just kind of hypothetical, like general, like people always want to do this, and why do they want to do it?
So do you feel like you need to defend then?
No.
No. But when I say, why do you need to think about it, Jeff? Or what do you need to sleep on, Jeff? Now, what do you feel like you need to do?
Defend it.
So do you see, guys, why we do third party? Anytime it's about their current situation, we go to third party so they don't have to defend themselves. I can talk about that person sitting across the room. That's easy to talk about that person sitting across the room. But talking about my finances, that's personal. Do you get that? So what we want to do is probe to find out what that can I sleep on or think about it is. And then we're going to find out, well, most often we're going to start with the investment is mistake-proof. Because what are they worried about? When they want to sleep on it or think it over, generally, what are they worried about? Making a mistake. So that's always where we're going to start there. So I'd say, so go ahead and say you need to sleep on it, Jeff.
I just want to sleep on it before we make any decisions about anything.
Oh, absolutely. So I acknowledge it. And it's important to sleep on these things, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
So I acknowledge it. I repeated it back in the form of a question. Now I'm going to get on his side. And the first thing I'm going to get on his side with is about the mistake. Because, I find that if we don't sleep on things sometimes, we make rash decisions or emotional decisions. And those always turn out great, don't they, Jeff?
No, usually they don't turn out so well.
No, they don't turn out well. Because when we make that knee-jerk reaction, have we had time to analyze it?
No.
And when we say we're going to sleep on it, it's really not that we're going to go home and we're going to immediately take a nap and think about it. When we say I need to sleep about it, it's about what? Making sure that we go through the advantages and the what?
And the disadvantages.
The good things and the what?
And the bad things.
How it can help us and how it might
hurt us.
Yeah. That's what we're talking about when we can sleep on. Because the one thing we do not want to do is make a what?
Well, we don't want to make any kind of mistakes.
Yeah. And, when we're talking about retirement savings, can we even, if you make a mistake, do you have the time to make back any money you might lose in a mistake?
No, not much. Not as much as you used to.
We all make, or there's a lot of people that make mistakes every single week with the lottery, right? Spending a dollar on the lottery and not winning it. But how does that hurt their finances?
It doesn't affect their finances.
But are we talking about a dollar here?
No, we're talking about a lot more than that.
So to just go ahead and snap your fingers and throw the dice and say, I don't know what we're doing, but let's go ahead and try it with this situation would be what?
It'd be silly. It'd be crazy.
It'd be crazy, wouldn't it?
Right.
Because you have to think things through. You have to make sure it's maybe good for you or it absolutely 100% is good for you.
That it absolutely is good for us.
Yeah, that it's going to maybe put you in a better situation, or you're sure beyond a shadow of a doubt that you're going to be put in a better position.
Well, we're sure beyond a shadow of a doubt.
Yeah. So when you go home and sleep on it, what kind of things do you think that somebody would need to think about?
Well, I just want to make sure that, if something did go wrong, that they could get out of it and they wouldn't be stuck.
So what did I just find out, guys? What did Jeff just tell me? He told me the real objection is can I sleep on it the real objection? Is I need to think about it the real objection? No. So by getting on his side about how smart he was to sleep on it, how smart he was to think about it, he finally, when I came back, he finally told me what the real objection was, which is what? Can I get out of this if it doesn't work? So now we've got something to work with. Because trying to work with can I sleep with it or I think about it, we have nothing there. So what you do is acknowledge, parrot it back in the form of a question, get on their side about how wise he is to sleep on it or think about it, and go get over or get on a side, get on a side, get aside, get aside, get on a side, and then finally go to third party and say, yeah, and what would people need to think about when they go home, or what would people need to sleep on it when they go home? And then he'll say what the real objection is. And then now that he's given me the real objection, I'm going to do the same thing all over. Absolutely, Jeff. Acknowledge. Parrot back in the form of a question. Because we don't want to be, being invested in something that we couldn't get up is not working would be foolish, wouldn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Now I'm going to get on the side. Because, do things change, Jeff?
Yeah, they change all the time.
And if things change, we better be locked into something or be able to change with it?
Well, we have to be able to change with them.
All I'm going to do is get right back on the side, on a side, on a side, on a side again. So do you kind of get where we're going here, guys? Do you kind of get what we're trying to do here? And then after we acknowledge or get through that real objection, then we're going to get back and say, but would anything, what would we actually accomplish? Once he's convinced then that, hey, this investment that we're recommending does take into account when things are good, does take into account when things are bad. It's good when the market's up, good when the market's down, good when interest rates are up, good when interest rates are down, that this is the best investment that you can get your money out if you ever need it for a nursing home. Get your money out if there's ever a death. I mean, so this, once he understands that, then he knows that, hey, I don't need to sleep on it. I just had my objection overcome. Does that make sense to everybody? Think about it. We just talked about it. You talked about that third party. So get on their side about thinking about it and then turn it to a third party. How about what if the market goes up? I don't know if I should do this because what if the market goes up? Again, you're going to acknowledge, pair it back to the form of a question, get on their side, and then you're going to turn it around to, and you want to be prepared if the market goes up and what? Down. So yeah, you want to be prepared if the market goes up. But you also need to be prepared if what? The market goes down. Another way you could go about it is say, yeah, but let's look if the market goes up. What could you gain? What if it went up 30%, Jeff? So if the market went up 30%, you'd finally buy that jet you and your wife have been saving for, wouldn't you?
No, I mean, we wouldn't do that.
Finally go on that 5-year cruise to Tahiti that you've been talking about for years and years and years, right?
No, I mean, we aren't gonna go on anything like that.
Yeah, I've been doing this for 25 years, and when somebody makes 30%, guess what they do? Guess how their life changes?
Probably doesn't change at all, really.
It doesn't change at all. But, you know, I've also been doing this for 25 years, and you know what I've seen when the market goes down 30%? Do you think that changes people's lives?
Yeah, I'm sure it does.
In what kind of ways? So after I'm not going to have this conversation until I've talked about the fact that, yeah, you wouldn't want to be in some slowpoke investment if the market's charging up, would you, Jeff?
No.
That'd be crazy, right? I mean, all your friends are making 30%, and you're sitting there chugging along at 2%. How would that feel?
Like I'm not doing very well.
Yeah, so I'm going to get inside, but once I've gotten inside, then I'm going to go to the, hey, but really, if you make 30%, what's going to, how would that change your life? If you lost 30%, how would that change your life? Now, did I say, Jeff, how would it change yours? Or who did I talk about, Jeff? You or other people?
Other people.
Yep. Because if I say, Jeff, how would making 30% change your life? Or how would losing 30% change your life? Oh, well, probably wouldn't really change it that much. Why would Jeff disagree with me, guys? Because I'm talking about his money, and if he agrees with me, it means he has to what? Give me his money. So he's not going to agree with me on his personal situation, but he will agree with me about their neighbors or other people, etc. And once you get their agreement on that third party, then you can come back and say, well, if it's smart for your neighbor, it'd only be smart for who, Jeff?
Well, it'd be smart for us, too.
Yeah. But if I just go right at Jeff, then what's going to happen? He's going to put up his hackles and say, oh, I don't know. I mean, I've been down 30% before, and I buy more. You've heard guys say that. Have you ever heard a wise-ass investor say that, who, when they first came into you, they're crying about how much money they lost, but then when it gets down to the sale, if you don't do it right, if you get down to the close, they'll say something like, and you say, well, this will protect you from the market going down to 30%. What would you do if the market went down 30%? Well, I'd just buy more. And this is the same guy that was whining 2 weeks ago about how much money he lost. So why, Jeff, would he say, well, I'll just buy more then, because it's down?
Well, he's just being defensive. He knows that he's going to have to, if he agrees with you, he's agreeing that he should move his money.
Yep, and they don't want to do that. So you got to go third party first, then you can go first party. What if something happens to you? This is good for we're independent financial advisors, so a lot of times they're worried about, what if, I like you, Mike, but what if you're run over by a bus? So again, you can acknowledge, get on their side, and then you're going to wind around to this point. Well, we set up everything up front so that you could run on autopilot for years, so that you could find the right person to replace me. So I do everything so good up front that this thing would run on autopilot for 3-4 years, even if I was run over by a bus. That's what I do. That's what my expertise is. So even if something happens to me, you're going to have a good 3-4 years to find somebody without having to worry about making any changes. And my assistant, Missy, she'll help you find that person. Or the other thing you say is, listen, I have several professionals that work with the exact same procedures that I use, which you do now, right? Because you're part of 5Q, or that you can actually refer them to people out that work just like you, that their proposals are going to look just like yours, that are going to make sure that their powers of attorney and beneficiaries are right. So you do have those people you can refer them to. So do we have any questions? Guys, do you get what this bottom line is? Can I see some people type in if you know what I'm talking about, this bottom line? It's the place that you get to. Okay, Casey says, yeah. So it's the place that you get to after you do the other things. This is how you turn them to look at more big picture. Sure, you're right. You need to worry about if I was run over by the bus and it screwed up your whole situation, you are right. That you'd be crazy to do that. So and their myopic way of viewing things is, Mike, if you get run over by a bus, I'm screwed. They're absolutely right in the way that they're viewing the world. But I have them take a step back and say, but in reality, after getting on their side, I can have them take a step back and say, but in reality, I have several professionals that you can work with. In reality, I'm setting things up so that if I get run over by a bus, it wouldn't really affect you for years to come. Okay? I'm going to review this with my accountant. So again, acknowledge, get on their side, and then you're going to say, the thing you're going to turn around to, or the bottom line is going to be, well, there are many experts. You should work with one that's an expert on the topic you're concerned about. So guys, are accountants experts on investments? No. So we're going to have them realize that, oh, yeah, I guess I should, I'm not going to go to my surgeon for a broken engine, and I'm not going to go to my mechanic for a broken heart. So I guess I shouldn't go to my accountant for broken investments. I should go to my accountant for what? Taxes. The other thing we get them to, the other way we can approach this, and again, it depends on what you feel like that day or whatever. The other way you could approach this is, what would he say what would you say if you were in his shoes? And our point there is, we've just shown them maybe how to save $3,200 in taxes with our plan. So, of course, what's the accountant going to say if I show them they could save $3,200 in taxes? Because they've been paying that $3,200 in taxes for how many years, guys? So if you were the accountant, and all of a sudden this guy comes in and says, well, you know what? This investment professional showed me how I could save $3,200 in taxes. Guess how the accountant's going to look at that? As if you're attacking who? Him. So, of course, if you're attacking him, Casey, what's he going to do? Poo-poo your idea, shoot it down, because defend himself, exactly. So what we want to do is make sure what? They get that, listen, your accountant's fantastic at doing taxes, but he's not a specialist in investments. Or we get them to agree that, hey, of course, anything that you talk to him about when you can show that you can save taxes, he's going to poo-poo it. Why? Because it's going to make him look bad. And again, folks, you're not really attacking him. You just want to get his opinion. But his opinion is going to be clouded by the fact that if he says, hey, this is good, that you're not just saving this $3,200 going forward, but you, over the last 10 years, at $3,200 times 10, you've wasted $32,000 because he wasn't helping you save taxes. Do you think he's going to say that that's valid? Or is he going to be embarrassed by that so that you help them walk through that process, but only after they know you're on their side? How about I'm going to review this with my son? What we're going to leverage there, again, after getting on their side over and over and over, then we're going to acknowledge that, you know what, no, isn't it hard for, I mean, if, when your husband says, or when your wife says, do I look fat, what does the husband say? See, it's too hard for loved ones to be objective, because he might think that she's the most beautiful woman in the world, even though everybody in the world says she's fat. So whether he's doing it to be nice or that's how he sees her, can loved ones be objective? And when it comes to our health, when it comes to our money, we need people who are what? Trying to be nice to us, or people who are objective? Okay? Or the other thing you can do here is super. Let's bring them in and explain things. Because, have you ever sat around the campfire and played the telephone game where you whisper something in the person's ear next to you, and then again and again and again? By the time it gets back to you, how much of it is the same? How much of the message is even the same at that point? So let's do this. Let's bring them in and let's explain things. And guys, I and Jeff, we've seen this over and over and over, that if we get the children involved, what's the likelihood that we get a sale?
It's very high.
Very, very high. As long as they're able to go through the whole process. Because when they see the second meeting, guys, as soon as the kids see the second meeting, it's all over. You get it. You get the case. Here's why. The reason that kids want to get involved is not, do you really think that kids want to manage their parents' affairs? You're a kid. You have parents. Do you really want to manage your parents' affairs? No. So why then do the kids always want to poo-poo anything that you recommend? It's because they're trying to protect their parents from greedy salespeople. That's why. when they sit through the second meeting and see, holy cow, this guy's taking care of the survivor's guide, he's taking care of the powers of attorney, he's taking care of the medical directive, he's taking care of this, that, and the other thing. Those are all the things I know that my parents need to do, but I don't want to do them with them. He's going to do them with them. You need to work with this guy, Mom. It's a done deal if you can get them to sit through that second meeting with you, okay? But they have to sit through that second meeting. My neighbor says this isn't any good. Well, the bottom line is going to be friendship is great, but experience is better. And even better, can you hold a friend accountable? So, if your friend recommends that you put all your money in gold and gold tanks, can you hold them accountable? Can you sue them? If your friend says, hey, this stock is a horrible stock and it goes up 70% in 2 weeks, can you sue them? Can't hold them accountable. Can you fire them? Can you yell at them? Do you really want to risk that with your friendship? You know what? The same thing with a car. If your friend fixes your car and then the brake line breaks and you crash into a tree and you're in the hospital for 3 months, can you hold them accountable? But if a mechanic does that, doesn't do his job, and a brake line breaks, can you hold him accountable? So when it comes to, is your life savings more important or less important than your car? So do you want somebody who you can hold accountable or somebody you can't hold accountable? Somebody who's a fiduciary or somebody who's not a fiduciary giving you advice? But again, Jeff, can you say these things before you get on their side?
No. If you say these things before you get on their side, they'll get defensive and you've lost the deal.
Yep. And if you get defensive just once, what does it do? What if you had a great first meeting, a great second meeting, and then you get defensive just once at the third meeting? What happens?
They believe that you're really that wolf in sheep's clothing, that they finally discovered you. They finally found you out.
Aha! I thought he was different. I thought he was a consultant. But he just showed himself as a salesperson. Because, guys, why would we ever get angry about their objections? Because we care so much about them. We're going to lose so much sleep because if they don't do what we recommend and it would put them in a worse situation, we feel so bad about that. No. What would be the only reason why we would be getting angry or anxious if they gave us an objection? Because we want their money. That's why it's so important to get on their side before you do these things. I want to shop around. The bottom line would be, well, you're not going to find a better deal, and waiting can hurt you. Or how am I going to, if you shop around, how am I going to feel if you come back? So just I'm going to be straight with you, folks. If you go shop around, I might not want you as a client when you come back. And this is when you get really confident with the system. And I used to use this all the time. Not all the time. It wouldn't happen very often, but anytime it happened, I would absolutely use it because I was like, hey, go ahead and shop around. I don't know if I'll take you if you come back because, what would you do if the first time you went out with your wife, you said, okay, I see what you're like. I'm going to go ahead and shop around and see, try out a few other women before I marry you. How's that going to affect your relationship with your wife? Either what I'm recommending makes sense or it doesn't make sense, but I'm not interested. If you walk out that door, see ya. When they get that kind of confidence, it closes the deal. And it sounds like high pressure, but it's not if you follow the system all the way through. It's just a fact. And again, it won't happen that often, but this is usually when the wife really wants to work with you and the husband doesn't. That's when I've used this. I'm going to wait until and it's a do-it-yourselfer generally when I see that. So I'm going to wait until everything settles down. Well, the bottom line is you can be prepared always, but you never know when or what is going to happen. My broker says everything's going to go back up. Don't know what's going to happen. He doesn't know what's going to happen. Be prepared for everything. And here's my favorite line. Guys, anytime you get into a push-me-pull-you with a broker who's making all sorts of guarantees, and guys, do our competitors make guarantees that they can't back up? Do you ever see that? Do brokers ever make, and this will drive me bananas, they make promises that they can't back up. I always say this. This is my favorite line, and I used it over and over and over. I say, super. He sounds certain that this is going to happen, so let's get him on the line because I've got a lot of money, personal money, I want to move to him as well. All I'm going to ask him is one thing. If it doesn't do what he says it's guaranteed to do, will he turn his home over to me? When you do that with a client, then you shut up. And what does the client say? Oh, well, I don't know if he'll do that. Well, why wouldn't it? Man, he's saying it's guaranteed. He's saying it's going to happen no matter what. So why? I mean, for him, it's great. He gets a huge client because I'm going to move over a big amount of money to him. So he's not out nothing because, you know, he knows it's going to happen. It's guaranteed. He's guaranteed it's going to happen. So why would he worry about? And he's getting another huge client. It's going to be his best day ever. And what's the client realize then? Because, you know, why do clients believe that kind of crap? Because we all believe in hope. We want to believe that broker can get us that 10% guaranteed or that 1% a month compounded for a year, and all that kind of stuff. They want to believe that. That's how Madoff got all those billions of dollars. That's how all these Ponzi schemes work. But when you say, fine, let's do this because I want that 1% a month too. 12% guaranteed per year. I want that too. Let's get him on the line. All I ask is that he gives me the mortgage to his house if it doesn't work that way. And all of a sudden the client thinks, I don't think he's going to do that. And it helps them realize in their own mind, oh, you know what? If he won't do that, I guess it's not really a guarantee that it's going to work. So, and guys, when you use this, the client gets it immediately, and that objection is right off the table. I want to lose the death benefit. This is like if you have a VA and they've got a death benefit there. You say, well, the money is for you, not your kids. And why do you need more money if one person dies? Because it takes less money to take care of one person than two people. Or you make the point, and we don't have time to go into this, with VAs, you pay more for the life insurance with the VA when you need it less. And that's actually in the script for the VA if you want to go through that. And then if I pull this out, it's going to cost me a huge tax bill, surrender, or penalty. The bottom line is it's going to cost you more to stay or leave. And you'll also see that in the on the third meeting tapes and audios and how we do that. Is it going to cost you more to stay or leave? If it's going to cost you more to stay, you should leave. If it's going to cost you more to leave, you should stay. My children say I should just leave everything as it is. Your kid's situation is different, and love can get in the way of making good decisions. How about I'm going to, because we're out of time here, I'm just zipping through the last few here. I'm going to wait until I get my next statement. The bottom line is, how's that going to change things? Can I just try this with $10,000 and see how it goes? I get on their side, get on their side, get on their side, get on their side, and then I say, but you know what? If it's not right for all of it, it's not right for any of it. Why would you, if something's not right for some of your money, it's not right for any of your money. Okay? So these are the bottom lines. That's what you're going to eventually get to after you've got on their side. But I tell you what, if you want to see your income go through the roof, it's not the bottom lines I've been talking about here, guys. What is it? Learn to do what? It's not these bottom lines. Learn to do what? Let's see somebody type that in. Do you want to see your income get on their side, get on their side? Okay, everybody's saying get on their side. That's exactly right. When you're unbelievable at that, then you're going to have unbelievable income. And Jeff, have we ever seen anybody that's come onto this system with 30 years, 20 years, 10 years, or 0 years of experience that has been fantastic at getting on people's side?
No, it's a tough thing for people to do. It's one of the hardest things to learn.
I will tell you, I have not seen anybody who's good. I haven't seen anybody who's fair. I haven't seen anybody who's passable at getting on their side, because by nature, who are we worried about, guys? I know we'd all like to say our fellow man, but in reality, who are we all worried about? Ourselves. How do we look at how things affect, how the world affects us? Where it's about us, me, 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 me. And you have to break that habit. When you can start putting yourself into the other person's shoes is when your income doesn't go up 10%, it doubles. It doesn't go up 20%, it quadruples. And am I exaggerating, Jeff?
No, that's absolutely true.
It's like an on-off switch. You either get it or you struggle. You either get it or you struggle. You either make a lot of money or you see hardly any increase in your income. It's an on-off switch. Super. So thanks, everybody, for being on the call. Is this a helpful call? I know it may be a little bit confusing. If you've got questions, email me the questions. I'll be happy to talk to you about them, because this is a very important thing. So was this a helpful call, everybody? Super. And if anybody has other things that they'd like to talk about on these calls, always send us ideas. We'd be happy to do it. I mean, I've got agendas, but I'd be more than happy